Hey guys, it's Lizzy and welcome back to another That's Debatable show. I have Tina Tamboer from the Cromford Report, guys. She is an amazing wealth of knowledge. I think her title, is it statistician? How do you pronounce that?
I would just, the easiest thing, I'm a housing analyst.
She's a housing analyst,
Yeah.
But honestly, guys, I have known her forever. Back when the days when we both had business partnerships, she was my title partner.
I know.
And it's so crazy to see like how much you've grown, what you've done with the Cromford Report.
Thank you.
I know, Michael Orr had started it, but you have really taken it to this a whole other level.
Thank you.
I think everybody knows your name now in all of the real estate market. It's like Tina's a hot commodity. In fact, before this, she was telling me she's like 500 unread texts and emails. So don't get offended. But I am honored that I got you, right? So that it just means the world to me that you're spending this time talking about this super important topic to me. And just, you've always been a champion for our Hispanic market. And I just love you to death. And I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. And I would like to say I've loved watching you grow your business and your family and everything as well. So I'm super proud of what you've done with your world.
Today's topic, we're going to be talking about deferred action status and how that impacts the Arizona real estate market. I have Tina Tamboer here with me. Everyone knows she's a super amazing wealth of knowledge. And I just really want to have an organic conversation, just kind of educating just everyone on what this actually is. Because I just feel like, being someone who is Hispanic, who doesn't look Hispanic, I get so many like controversial things said to me about it. And I just thought what a great opportunity it would be to just really just pinpoint some of the facts.
Yes.
So for those of you guys who do not know what DACA is, or Deferred Action Status, it was a policy that was put in place by the Barack Obama administration back in 2012. And it wasn't a pathway to citizenship, but it was going to allow people who had been here from before the age of 16 that were brought here from their parents that did not have citizenship, a pathway to enter the workforce and file taxes and get driver's licenses. But it was preventing people with, felonies or big criminal acts, or people who are older than that from being able to really get citizenship. So I think that there's just a lot of confusion with that, because I think people are confusing them with undocumented workers or people that come here today and what all that means. And so I really just wanted to kind of talk about that and how does that impact our market? What kind of research have you done, that I feel like everybody else needs to know about?
Well, I think it is important to know how the deferred action for childhood arrivals does affect our real estate market, specifically in the southwest part of the United States. The state of Arizona, it's very difficult for us to have a conversation about real estate and, frankly, millennials buying real estate without having a conversation about DACA recipients. Because the fact is that in 2017, 72% of our DACA recipients were between the ages of 21 and 36 years old, which means that today we're in 2019, they're going to be between the ages of 23 and 38 years old. And so this is an action that started in 2012, mind you. So it was a one-time thing. Like in 2012, you had to be under the age of 31, and you had to have been brought to the United States by your parents before the age of 16. So back in 2017, only 0.5% of the DACA recipients were actually under the age of 16. So what that means for us is that these are people who have been educated in the United States. Most likely, I haven't spoken to all of them, but I assume they speak English. These are some of the questions that people, do they speak English? Do they have jobs? Yes. And you don't qualify for DACA unless you want a job. That's the whole purpose to put your name in, is so that you can get a license, and not only a license to drive, but that also allows you to get car insurance, right? So we actually saw a big boost in car insurance in 2012 from people who finally got their license and could go to work and not worry about being stopped. And on top of that, you've got the ability to get a license to work. And when we say license to work, that means that a license to do law, nursing, real estate, lending, any industry that requires you to get a license now you can. You can also become just a regular W-2 for a job that doesn't require a license.
I think that's like the biggest misconception, though. I think so many people think that a DACA recipient is somebody who like doesn't want to pay taxes or doesn't have a job. And this is like an educated workforce that is actually stimulating our economy, providing lots of value. Just from like a straight emotional perspective, I mean, these are people that have never understood what it's like to live in their, in Mexico, right? Because I feel like that's like the biggest one, right? They've never lived in their original country. They have no idea. A lot of them don't even speak their native language, I guess is what you would call that, right? I mean, I think it's so just really heartless to say, hey, by the way, you've been here for all this time, we've educated you, you only speak our language, you only know our systems, our government, everything, and oh, by the way, now you have to leave. And there's a lot of them here in Arizona, and most of them, I mean, I actually have 2 DACA recipients that work on my team. I've helped countless of them purchase homes, and I just think it's crazy to say, hey, this percentage of the population who's been contributing and are awesome humans, and I mean, we're not talking about criminals. That's the other thing that I hear about, right? Is that, oh, these are people who don't pay taxes, don't speak English, are criminals that are still, it's the crazy things that people say, right? And they come from some valid concerns. So I'm not saying that there are no valid concerns with like not documenting people who come in here to our country, but the deferred action status for childhood entries, I mean, of childhood arrivals, that's not what we're talking about here.
Right. Well, if they had a felony on their record, they don't qualify.
Yeah, or a major misdemeanor, right? So anything like that was very serious, they would not qualify.
Right. And then, and that's on the emotional side. I totally understand that. From a purely pragmatic side of the whole equation, you have to understand that the state of Arizona has nearly 60,000 of these people. And so just to give you an idea of how big that is, the city of Buckeye is 70,000 people. The city of Fountain Hills is 24,000 people. So we have 2.5 Fountain Hills, and we have almost as big as the whole area of Buckeye. So when you consider from a real estate standpoint,
and you said some states have like 500,000, right?
California, as of September of last year, was at 505,000. The state of Texas has 275,000. We're not actually even the biggest one. We're number 7 with 60,000. So we still have like New Jersey, Illinois, Florida all have more than we do.
Well, Arizona has actually been like a trailblazer when it comes to preventing deferred action status.
Well,
we were the first state that like fought against the administration on expanding their rights. That happened with Jan Brewer.
You know what? You probably know a little bit more, but I do remember there was a rough time in 2010
I think we had that
with SB 1070. Yes. But that was a very complicated issue back then, totally. And it's still complicated now in the aftermath, especially.
But I think that issue actually is what's carried on all the misconceptions on this particular issue.
Well, what we can take away from that. So let's go back to SB 1070 very briefly. What we can take away from SB 1070, what we learned was, from a real estate standpoint, when you have a mass exodus of people, what we call an outbound relocation, without other people coming in to take their place, you leave vacant properties. So the kiss of death for real estate is vacancies. Yes. So when you have more outbound relocation than inbound relocation, we all know that is simple math. You're going to have property values drop. So that was a small group of people compared to what we have in DACA. So what might warm your heart a little bit is that the Pew Research Center actually did a study. It was, let me get the date real quick. It was in January of 2018, and they did both sides of the aisle, so both sides of all the political spectrums, and you'll be happy to know that 74% of everyone polled actually wants them to stay. So this is awesome. Not a partisan issue. Most people, when they find out that these are immigrants who can work, pay car insurance, because
taxes.
That was like a big deal for a lot of people. If you get your car hit, what are you going to do with the uninsured motorist insurance, right? Well, they have car insurance, they are paying taxes, they have jobs, they're contributing in a educated way. So when people hear educated workforce, that's what this group of people is. And so not only do we not want 60,000 people to be relocated out of our city, they're living somewhere. They're either in somebody's rental or helping somebody pay a mortgage somewhere, or they have a mortgage themselves. There are some DACA people who have mortgages. For the most part, though, I can understand why they wouldn't want to have a 30-year mortgage if they're not sure of what their status is going to be going forward. But
it's not just them not wanting to purchase, because that there is a lot of misinformation out there for consumers, but a lot of lenders don't provide all types of financing to DACA recipients because, technically they don't have a legal status. Right?
They are considered a high-risk loan. Yes. So if they were to obtain some form of legal permanent status, that would make their loan less risky. And the thing about that, again, that 60,000 people of an educated workforce, you do not want your educated workforce to leave, because as we've all been reading about the employment situation in Phoenix, companies are attracted to Phoenix for the educated workforce. So you don't want to see your young workforce leaving. One of the other things that people may not realize is that while we are growing in population, the major age group of people moving here are not in the millennial age groups. No. They are in the baby boomer age groups. So at the age of 55, so they have a limited working lifespan here until they go into retirement. And once you go into retirement, maybe you're not spending as much on taxes because your income's dropped. So there's a lot of different reasons why we would like this literally mini city of people to stay here and for us to have a resolution to this particular issue. And, think about it this way, too. Our demand has dropped.
That's what I was in a real estate presentation when you were talking about the demand has dropped. And this pent up, buyer pool could really help our real estate market.
Absolutely. We have been enjoying for 4 years now, we've been enjoying a group called boomerang buyers.
Yes.
So boomerang buyers are those people who had a foreclosure or short sale sometime between 2008 and 2011, were locked out of a mortgage for 7 years. They've been renting. So in 2015, the first wave of foreclosure recipients got those off their credit. So we went through this 4-year wave of people cleaning up their credit, getting back into a mortgage. It created a lot of churn for our marketplace, threw us into a seller's market, which was great for prices for anybody who has real estate, who owns real estate here. However, that ended last year, because 2011 was the last big year for foreclosure, so 2018 is the last year for those people getting back into homes. So the big question is, who's going to come in and replace them? Well, now we look to the millennial age group to come in and start buying homes. And the fact is that they're starting to get back in, but we have a very large group here that has been stagnated from being able to boldly go forth in purchasing real estate, if you will. So if we get even 10%, 20% of those guys, we sold about 94,000 homes through the MLS last year. If we drop 10%, we could easily pop up another 10% if we were able to get even a portion of the DACA people into mortgages and into a home of their own.
Do you have any research on just average economic status, what they're earning,
I've been looking for that. It's a difficult statistic because they are young.
Okay.
So, we do have some that are over, between 30 and 38 now, but you're going to have quite a few who are just starting out, maybe, getting high school jobs. They might be in college. Okay. So I would say that trying to create a statistic that shows how much economic potential or existing economic impact they're making, this is the future. They're just starting their careers now. So it's a lot of them are just starting their careers now. So I think that you'd have to look and see how many are in the upper age groups to see, how much they're making and where they're renting. But, that type of information can be hard to come by, especially when it comes to fair housing. And I mean,
totally. And it's very hard to gather that. But I just, I figure it's one of those data metrics that people need when they're wanting to make a decision or voting or, having an opinion on something that's so dramatic as, relocating 60,000 people in our state. So I just think that if people understood their economic value, right? If we're just being strictly pragmatic, how much do they bring in? Because one of the things that, when you listen to people who have a very strong, conflicting opinion to my own is just, that they don't bring anything to the table, or that they're taking away job potential for, educated people that are here. And I feel like people not understanding that they are not taking away, that there isn't like this surplus of super educated workforce that is being displaced now because we have all these extra people here, or, that they don't, contribute to the economy, even though, one, they consume goods and pay sales tax, which is supporting the economy. They do have jobs that pay taxes and fill our Social Security budgets, even though they may not ever reap the rewards of that. There's just so much economic value there that people, I feel like, just need the information on.
What's interesting about some of the preconceived notions about, people taking jobs or whatever. Whenever I present on our population increasing and the population growing by 2%, I get people that say, that is wonderful news. You know what? They never ask me who they are. I rarely get asked, well, who are these extra population people? Where are they coming from? If they're coming from other parts of the state, they don't seem to worry about whose job they're taking. If they're, you know what I'm saying? I don't get those types of questions. Generally speaking, when you say a state is growing in population, it is considered a positive thing. And in reality, when it comes to growing your educated workforce, it attracts companies. It doesn't detract. If you have your educated workforce leaving, as considered negative. Like, let's look at what's happening in New York right now, where they call that, as people are getting older, all of those educated, very well-established people are leaving New York, the state, for various reasons, primarily the cost of living, of course, but, wanting to maintain their wealth. They built their wealth in New York, and they would like to maintain their wealth somewhere else. And so the thing is that that is generally considered negative. So if you look at a growing population in general as positive, and that the population has high school, some college or whatever, wherever they are, that is considered a very positive thing. That's not taking jobs away from someone else. That is creating an environment where more jobs can grow. And in an environment where we already have very extremely low unemployment, now they're so desperate for workers right now that all kinds of people are getting opportunities now. People who are difficult to hire, like I just saw something in the news the other day about new opportunities coming up for people who are handicapped. All kinds of things are coming up because we have a shortage of workers. We don't have an overabundance of workers. And
I just think that that's an awesome point. Just to wrap up on, is just like that this is a section of the population that really matters. We're talking about 93,000, transactions being done a year, and 60,000 people that could maybe enter in to that market to really boost our economy in so many different ways, but especially within real estate. I think these are all super valid points. And Tina, I just want to say thank you so much for coming to present, all of the facts and, being very logical and pragmatic, with all my emotions about this topic.
Thank you so much for having me. This was very enjoyable.
Well, Tina, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. But I just wanted to say thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. That was such great information. It definitely gave us the logical, pragmatic data side that we need to counterbalance all my big emotions. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. You are amazing. And everyone, if they wanted to find you later, how would they reach you?
Easiest way is go to www. Does anybody do that anymore? Did I just age myself? CromfordReport.com. And my email address is tina@CromfordReport.com.
Awesome, guys. Now you know how to reach her. Tune in next time.